Today is going to be about loosening up as an artist, and we're going to do that through drawing. Because when you're painting, even in watercolor, you should not be just filling in the lines. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate sharpening a pencil, which sounds ridiculous. You know, why would I need to show you that? Well, I'm going to. This is one of those water-soluble graphite pencils. A black watercolor pencil will do, but it needs to be a good quality one, like a Prismacolor or I can't think of the name of this, or Faber-Castell. One of those. Don't get one of those little made-for-school kids things. It just they're not anywhere near the same. So what I was going to show you, forgot because I was talking. You can see how I'm doing this. I've got hold of the pencil and I'm using my thumb to push this blade across here. And by the way, I get single edge razor blades at Walmart in the painting department. Painting department, I mean, you know, like for painting walls. I guess they sell them to scrape windows or something. You can see that what I've done here is I didn't make a sharp point. There could be times when maybe you want a sharp point, but what I want is I want to expose a fair amount of thick lead to work with. That's why I'm working this way. See, and I'm taking this kind of scooping motion like, let's see, scooping motion like this. Okay, and that lets me have that thicker lead. I am using a paper that's got a little bit of tooth to it. I don't like paper that's slick. This is a Strathmore Sketch. You know, you could buy these at Hobby Lobby, any size you want. I suggest that you work with something a little on the large size, even if you don't use the whole thing. I think it encourages you to be looser. And then I am standing. Okay, big deal, because I'm going to hold the pencil like this, okay, and I'm working from my shoulder in part, elbow and wrist and all of that, but it's going to free me up in a way that wouldn't be the same if I was sitting down and doing this. It just changes the whole way your mind is working. Okay. Oh, I was going to show you some drawings first. Okay. These are just some loose sketches of this. This is what I'm working to achieve. And you can see, because I got the paper wet, it did buckle some. So I've got a bunch of these. I'll show you that in a minute. I've got a bunch of these done. You will notice that there are thick and thin lines. This one's got all its lines intact. I really prefer to have some lines pretty much missing, you know, some bits of lost edge. And you'll notice every one of these has got splatters on it, because I just think they're better with splatters. I love to make splatters. Here's some more. All right, so a lot of this is about the quality of line that you're using, not about what it really is. Almost anything can look good. All right there. What is that? You know, I really don't much care what it is. It's got a certain variety of brush stroke. There's fast marks, there's slow marks, there's dark thick marks, there's almost not even there marks, and it's that variety that kind of creates this little dance in here. Okay, so what was that? Well, I'm showing you this to make a point. Okay, how ugly could something be, and you still make a drawing out of it? Because it's about the drawing more than it is the subject matter. And I want you to think in terms that way today. So I would suggest the first move, oops, the first move might be just to loosen up. You know, this is relatively cheap paper. You could work on the back too, but here's the thing. Just make some marks, and then maybe play with your. I like to do this. I like to splatter big drops of water, and then have my marks run through it. That's a really good way at first until you get comfortable with deciding where you want some thick and thin lines. Just and the thick lines tend to be darker too because they're wet. Oops. You need a paper towel in hand. So what I'm going to do here first is let's just loosen up. Let's just do some leaves. Okay, and you know, it kind of helps if your pencil's kind of already been wet for a little while. I'm actually just holding that. It can get too wet and just crumble on you, but it helps to kind of moisten that pencil and then give it a little blot there. Let's see how that does. You're going to get different qualities of line depending on how wet your pencil is. And this isn't about realism either. Try some, see I've got little bumps there that don't even belong. Try some, let some things happen. I think my hand just got bored there and decided to make other little things happen. And those can be good in the drawing. And they, you know, there are artists who use sticks, and I think it's a really good idea, but I don't tend to do it. But that will actually tape a pencil or a brush to a stick that's sort of bent so that they have less control over it because the stick is sort of wobbly when you work with it. And you tend to get things like that happening. I kind of have learned to just make that happen without the stick, I guess. So let's see, I've got a drawing there, but I didn't get very interesting lines. Let's make those stems thicker. Okay, and maybe turn that white. Remember, I've got a big area there. Maybe turn that sideways a little bit. Get a little roughness there. Okay, kind of cool. You could add a little shading this way very lightly. I wouldn't make it dark because your next step is to add some water. Don't wet the whole thing down. I might want to soften some edges a little bit. You can't soften edges much on this paper because it absorbs really fast and then everything's pretty much set. And the other thing is to possibly just do this. And those spatters are a little darker than I wanted. We'll blot them. I really like wetter spatter. There's a nice spatter. Okay. Spatters can add wonders to stuff. They're magical. Spatters are magic. Yeah. So let's draw a rose now. And there's a lot of ways you could go about this. Let's start with one where we're just going to draw it without too much thought to making it like the rose that's right here. Think of this as your inspiration, not as, what you have to do. So if you're, I'll put my paper towel right here. if your pencil is real wet, you will get a line that stays the same all the way for a long, long ways, because there's a trail of water there going with it, and you tend to get the same thickness of line, and I don't like that at all. So when I've got that much water, I generally blot pretty quick or do something. So what I'm going to look at is contour drawing mostly the silhouette of this flower, because quite frankly, the project that I have coming up for you, I'm really interested in the silhouette shape more than I am in the interior of the rose. So you see, now I've got a soft pencil, whereas a dry one, let's see, oh, well, this one's wet too. Never mind, I can't show you right now. Okay, so I'll follow along. I'm drawing this, but of course you can't see it from the same angle. And no, I don't have my eyes closed, and I am looking at both items. As a matter of fact, for this, I would suggest that you have your, and I really like the idea of using an artificial flower, but you can use anything. I've got that very near here so that I have both what my drawing and my my model rose here, both in my line of vision. And again, I'm not going to work at exactness. I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. Let's see, well, let's make this go out here. All right, for instance, there. Now, I've got the same quality of line all the way here, because I was contour drawing and I was really focused on this shape. Let's go back and let's finish this petal, which is right in here. Okay. So I'm being pretty cautious here, and that's not what I wanted to illustrate. But I got sort of caught up in doing this. See, I can't even talk. Okay, there's a rose. Okay, I bet that was hiding this. Yeah, you can see some of it. All right, so let's consider instead, let's do this where we've got a few splatters down. And there's such a thing as too many, and there's too little, and you know, you got to play with it. Okay, so I'm going to start out in the same spot that I did last time. Okay, see there I hit a bit of water. Now I have a wet pencil. In fact, I'm going to blot it. There's a little shape right there. Again, I'm into the water. Well, let's blot some more. And I might try pressing a little, be a little lighter with my pressure too, to get some variation. I mean, it's not all just about water or no water. Okay, whoa. Hit water again. Okay, there. Here's this, and then we're off on this other petal, which is going to come down here. And you know what? I'll just take back off and do the rest of this petal. Is this going to look like that one? Probably not. Okay, let's go. Oh, let's see. This is this. This is this. Okay. Kind of lost my direction here. Okay. So see, this is going to be a little more interesting. You know, I'm discovering that I'm also tightening up just because I'm on camera. I didn't want to do that, but here I am. Okay. Well, there it is anyway. And so you can see this is similar. This is more interesting. And I have visitors. Hold on. I have a pit bull living in my house. It's a long story. Okay, so you know, these little things are a lot of fun because you can play with those and exaggerate them. In fact, I like to exaggerate a lot of this. Here, let's get a little curly shape going there. And there might be another one coming out from under here. I love little curly swirly things. You know, you might have something that you love that's totally different. You might like for things to be very, very plain. Whatever you like, you can kind of put it into this. I'm doing just a little bit of value in a place or two. And keeping that very light. This is, the paper's dry here, which is a good thing. Because what I want is, I want it to give me some variations when I pick up my brush. That I got so dark I'm going to have lines there, which lines are okay too. When you play with this, you're going to find all kinds of things happening. And the thing is, see, once you could take a very, we'll take that drawing here in a minute. We'll make it more interesting. And now, see, I've already just still got color on the brush. So, I just splatter it too. And I like gray splatters, not black ones. Well, there's a black one. Yeah, see, I love what that does. Because you can take a very boring, static drawing, and just by thickening, oh, that's a little too wet. Just by thickening some of the lines, and I haven't made up my mind what lines I want to have thickened. And here's the thing too, when you're really thinking this thing through, you can have places where you want those thickened lines. Like, okay, I love the little curlicues, so I might, I'm going to use this finger. And you notice, I use that little finger a lot to brace things up. Okay, so let's just, oh, whoa. Get that fast. I just love, see, I love little dark spots, or little gray spots, I should say. There, you can paint on it a little bit. This area in here could be dark. Okay. So that's a starter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit of a way of getting a handle on the size and the silhouette of the shape, because I know that some of you are freaking out like, I can't make that all do the right thing, which I think you actually can. but I'm going to give you a little tip that may make it go a little easier. Okay, now let's get a little help with this. So I've got my favorite red poppy that I bought from Hobby Lobby. L's. This is another way, this is another aid. And what I do is this is sort of a halfway kind of suggestion. There are people who make a plexiglass window and draw a grid on it and set it up and put their subject in front of it and, you know, go through all kinds of machinations. I'm not big on that idea, but I suppose you could if you wanted to. But what I'm going to do here is I made a box that this fits inside of. So I could do one of two things with this box. I could draw something that's, look, see the proportions of it. It's not quite a square. It's a little bit taller than it is wide, like that. But you know, another thing I could do, if I wanted to keep it this size, I could just lay this down here. Oops. Okay, now I've got a box. And maybe we'll splatter a little water. I don't know. Let's warm up our pencil here with a little bit of water. Let's see. So I can see that this shape would have fit over here something like this. Again, I'm drawing flowers, not faces, which is great. I'm going to go up out of the plane here a little bit. I went too far. So I've already messed up and I'm not in my plane here at all. But I'm not going to let a thing like that bother me. There. So now I've got a silhouette that's, you know, kind of like the flower. Let's see, this is a petal that came up this way and does this. And it has very ruffly edges on it like this. And, no, it doesn't go down there. Well, I messed up. World will not come to an end. It comes out like this. Goes back in. This is another petal. Comes out like that. And here's a center. About that size. It's kind of round. Here's a petal that's doing this. And we've got all kinds of little, you know, this is almost too confusing. That is, there's almost too much stuff there to suit me. On the other hand, if you were really drawing like a portrait of this flower, then you might want all of that detail. I just want just enough. Okay, like here's two overlapping petals. This is just a way to help you kind of keep the proportions more the way you want them. And I love to make a fast line, you know. Some fast lines, some slow lines. Some very careful, thoughtful lines that have nice curves in them. I put off doing this part of this video all afternoon. Well, I was out running errands too, but sometimes I put things off because they feel like too much of a challenge. Not the drawing of it, it's the video. Okay, there's a little shape right there. See, I love all these little dancing edges that this has. I don't know if this thing really looks like a real poppy or not, and I really don't care. I like it because it's got all those like little dancing edges. And that's almost too much clutter for my plans for this, but we'll go with that. So, oh dear, really didn't want that. It's in there now. You know, the thing about a video is I could just get rid of this and do it over. But I would rather you saw that something can come out that is not perfect and it can still be what you need. Okay, bring that one up this way maybe a little bit. You know, you can correct on these. Okay, so really need a few more extra dark places. And then I'd like to leave some places that are real weak. This actually should have a little curl coming in this way. Okay, that's enough. So let's do the splatter, because they're just magical. Splatters are just magical in a situation like this. Doesn't mean you want to splatter everything. See, when it hits this paper, it's there's no, you know, real size. I don't know what's in this paper, but there's no real sizing. So let's see, I wanted a shadow in here. This area would have a shadow. This one not so much, but we'll do a little something there. Oh, I put a shadow in here. Must have thought it was a good idea at one time. So, okay. I don't know if that looks anything at all like a poppy to you. Here's a little green ditty that's there on the back. And, oh, here's another green ditty. I know, they're not really called ditties. And here's a stem. Okay. See, where was the other one? Oh, yeah, up here. Make those a little darker because they're green, and that just kind of separates the green from the rest of it. Now, I'll make another video tomorrow and show you something that you could actually use these for. Although the main thing is just the practice. Get your car keys. Lay out your car keys. You know, draw them. Draw anything. Like I said, draw tubes of arthritis cream if you want to. It doesn't matter. The flower's more complicated. It's the major thing is to be able to be free enough with your lines. So if this, you know, gets you uptight, then don't do this. Do your own tubes of arthritis cream. That's all. I'll see you again tomorrow. Well, I looked at this and you can't really even tell it's a flower. It needs a little bit more unity. So I'm going to pull a little bit more color in here and see if that'll do it. I really like to leave some light areas, but I think this needs a little more joining up. It's just too disjointed. Let's see how that looks on the video. Well, a little more like a flower and not a whole lot. Bye.